In the shadows of the Capitol, they're scheming in the night, selling out our freedoms for a pocket full of spite. From the border to the heartland, the wolves are at the door, twisting truth and tearing down what our fathers fought before. But I'm a patriot source, standing tall and true, with a Bible in my hand and old glory flying blue. Ain't apologizing for loving this land. We'll fight the forces of evil with fire in our stand. God bless the USA, we'll never back down. Patriots for freedom, wearing that crown.
Well, how are we doing, everybody? So, yes, it is true. It is still just the Nom and SK show today. We do not have Patriot Dad. He had an important dinner that he had to go to tonight. So, real quick, before we dive into the intros and how everybody's doing, I just noticed we have an error on X. The X stream is not working. I can't get it to go. I'm not entirely certain why.
I'll go post the actual link. How about that? Like,
Yeah,
so
but
we
yeah,
use your-
if you post the link to the YouTube or the Rumble, either one, but it's not I got an error there. I can't fix it. Don't really know why. I don't have time to really think about it while we try to do this. So we still have a good show for you guys. Did anybody watch Monday's episode? I didn't think it was too horrible, like at all. I thought we did a decent job.
We did a great job. I never have listened to a single one of our podcasts, and I listened to it, and the whole time I was listening to it, I was like, this is actually like really good. I would listen to this. I didn't know it was good.
Yeah, well, I mean, you should listen. You should really listen to these a lot more. I think we actually do a pretty good podcast, good show. Patriot Dad does a fantastic job. He's a very good talker. I'm not as quite a good of a talker, but here we are. Listen, we've got a good show lined up for you guys. We've got a lot of really interesting stuff. Did you know that we have American, Iranian propagandists and foreign agents operating inside of our country, and they're people that we know we have spent a lot of time talking about. So we're going to talk a lot about the people who, I don't know, before this is all said and done, may find themselves under investigation for not registering as foreign agents and literally regurgitating Iranian IRGC and Iranian military propaganda as it's handed to them. And you know all of the people I'm talking about.
Yes, I am shocked. And today was not on social media all today. Things have been crazy busy for me. But the little bit that I spent on social media, I saw an article that was saying, and it was like 30 minutes old. I even went to Google and searched to see what other stories were out there. Everywhere they were talking about how the Pentagon investigation proved that the missile that blew up that school was a United States missile. And so I went to this article and pulled it up. The headline is like definitive. The investigation found were responsible for this. And then you read the article and it's according to a source close to the investigation. And then it goes on and it says an anonymous source. There is no final investigation. Everything I looked up, because I was like, where's this investigation? I want to read it. So I went to look for the Pentagon investigation, the report on it. It doesn't exist.
Right. No, and that's why we're not actually going to cover much of that here. So we're gonna practice the Bongino rule here on that, because I did see. So one of my trusted sources for hard news, Eric Doherty, I think, or Eric Doherty. I don't remember exactly how to pronounce his name, but he actually ran that story from the New York Times. New York Times reporting said that it was basically a definitive ongoing investigation, but it's definitive that it was a U.S. missile that struck that school. I'm not buying any of that. We're going to wait 24, 72 hours. We're going to wait till we actually have a ruling. And by the way, if it did happen, I don't actually care all that much. I'm not saying that schools deserve to be blown up, but I do know that shit happens in war. Okay. This should not be a reason, in my opinion, if an accident like this occurs, for the meltdown that you are sure to see when we know for a fact that Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, that all of these people for years have done everything they can to hide their operations in and among schools, in and around hospitals to get this exact effect. So we're going to leave it there. I don't know if it's true or not. We don't know. That we're going to let the Bongino rule play out here. But I can tell you where I'm going to come down on it regardless. It would be shitty if it happened. It's an accident, but it's not going to force me to say that I no longer support the exercise of the operations going on in Iran, because they do.
I completely agree with all of that. Stuff happens. It's sad. War is never pretty, ever. And I mean, it is a part of it, just like it's a part of war is losing soldiers. Nobody wants that to happen. Nobody wants children or innocent people to die either, but it is just a fact of war. And that if it ends up being ours, then it was ours. Like, we take responsibility for that and we say, my bad, like, can't take it back. But also, that doesn't mean we don't support what's going on.
Well, so, but the difference between the US, right, is if mistakes like that happen, we have extensive and very expensive and very lengthy investigations to try to not only understand what went wrong, if someone actually broke the law, if there are crimes committed, they will be held accountable. We know that. But more importantly, to change our processes, to update our processes, our workflows, our procedures, our standards, to make sure that it doesn't happen again, right? So I think one of the things that was reported out of that, and listen, I'm doing this completely off of memory at this point, was that the location of this school, it was old intelligence because it was previously an IRGC headquarters of some sort, and now a school is attached to it, right?
Yes, I think that's exactly what I saw.
Right.
Is that it was the address was registered as one of these IRGC locations, but at some point in time they started putting kids in there, which sounds a lot like Hamas.
Right. So what I can tell you what will happen from a U.S. military and intelligence gathering and operationalizing this sort of intelligence is they will actually change their processes, and they will make sure that they have the latest and greatest intelligence possibly available. Because obviously, if that were the case, then they didn't have the most up-to-date intelligence. So the United States, the U.S. military will go to any length necessary to try to avoid this from happening. Nobody else in the world will do that. More importantly, our enemies know exactly how to use this against us, and they do use it against us all the time.
Yes, and right now, everyone in the world is trying to divide the Republicans, the Democrats, the communists, which those are the same things. I repeat myself. Marxists, again, same thing. I repeat myself. But you get what I'm saying. All of these adversarial foreign governments, the globalists, whatever you want to call all the things, everyone in the world is trying to divide the right now. And they are succeeding to a degree because people are either morons or they are pushing the propaganda themselves to divide the party because they don't actually care about what they're talking about. They only care about a paycheck or clicks or follows or likes or whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're totally right. So this is the propaganda war that we're engaged in, and I don't think we've ever seen. We've not had the opportunity for a war like this to play out under the current sort of environment of bots and sock puppet accounts and propaganda and information warfare, the way that it has evolved to in the last probably 24 months, maybe 18 months of this information war that we're in. So this is all wild. So again, Bongino rule. Even though we already spent like 9 minutes on the topic.
I'm sorry. Well,
it's okay. It's an important one, but it feeds perfectly right into the topic of the Iranian propagandists that are out there, who I think if they're not registered as foreign agents, they probably should be, and they should do it quickly. Otherwise, an investigation might be crawling so far up their ass. We're going to talk about them. We've also got a couple of other topics that we want to get into, right? So the SAVE Act might be coming up for a vote next week, though John Thune, I think, is going to do everything he can to ensure that it does fail. I don't believe that you're going to get. Anyway, we're going to talk about the SAVE Act. There's a lot of stuff that's coming out of that. We've got what are some other things we've got on the
Did you get any of the stuff that data Republican put out about John Thune and the Punch Bowl and the
Not yet.
Okay, because that's crazy.
That is crazy stuff. We'll see if we can get to it or not. We need some. If we need to put some pressure on him, we can. Though I think he's starting to cave because some Republicans their asses are in the hot seat. John Cornyn in Texas, so he's starting to change his tune a little bit too. So that's coming out. We've got
Murkowski was stopped. She was stopped and gave an interview when she was walking through the halls today, and she said she was not going to vote to pass the SAVE Act. Unless there were like protections for she wants to protect all the voters. She doesn't want to disenfranchise any voters, and she said some crazy stuff.
Yeah, this is cool. Whatever, fine. Hey, we're gonna get to anyway. So let's get into it. So Monday, I got a little pissed off at that artist formerly known as whatever the fuck his name is, and that's just what I'm calling him from now on, because we've got a bunch of creators out there, a bunch of propagandists who, I mean, they should know better. And I know exactly what's going on. Patriot Dad, we've talked about this before on this show where, I think a lot of these creators, they watch their revenue take a serious hit, especially over on TikTok, because we watched our RPMs go from, $1.10, 1,000 videos down to like 4 cents a video, whatever. And it's insane. So they started moving over into other platforms. And the only way that I think that these guys figured out that they can actually monetize is to just jump ship and go over and play with the bots, with the sock puppet accounts, and with the libs and the leftists. That's the only way I think these guys are able to make money, and they're doing it, which is why you see every 38 minutes they're posting the latest bullshit narrative that they can find, watching all the engagement they get, and they move on. They never correct it. They don't care if they're wrong at all. And they're doing it over and over and over again.
And just saying outrageous things. I was shocked to see, I think it was Ryan Matta or whatever his name is. Is he the one that posted a comment in saying that he supports Iran?
Yeah, we talked about that on Monday. He's the one. Yes, he is the one. We're going to get to that in a minute, because first, before we do, right? You guys all remember this guy. SK, do you remember who this guy is? Who this was?
That's no.
That is, if I gave you the name, you'd know it. Do you remember Baghdad Bob?
Yes.
Baghdad Bob. So Baghdad Bob was the guy who was given the really shitty job when the U.S. ground forces were invading Iraq to stand there and pretend like they weren't actually invading Iraq and that we weren't like destroying the Iraqi military and they weren't dropping their arms down and turning around and running. I mean, I believe that there's actually a video of Baghdad Bob saying they're not here, they're not coming, they're not close, while the U.S. military is literally marching behind him. Right? It was the most insane thing ever. He was given a name, and he will always be remembered as Baghdad Bob. And just like Watergate, now everything's got a gate to it, right? You've got Watergate, you've got Epstein Gate, you've got Pelosi, all these different gates, Signal Gate, all these things. Now you have Baghdad Bob. And Baghdad Bob will always be remembered for who he was. But there's a new player in town. His name is Tehran Tom. Okay, so now there's a new official spokesperson for the IRGC in Tehran, and he wanted you to know today that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of U.S. military personnel have been killed as a result of the unwavering force of the Iranian military. Let's just listen to what he's got to say. What? Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, that's not what I want. I want this one. Sorry. That's a photo of
اهداف دریایی دشمن متخاصم، 3 نفتکش متخلف کشورهای آمریکا و انگلیس در منطقه خلیج فارس و تنگه هرمز مورد اصابت موشکی قرار گرفته و در حال سوختن است. محل استقرار نظامیان آمریکایی.
For those of you that are just listening and not watching on Rumble or on YouTube, this is Tehran Tom, and essentially what he's saying, he's declaring that Iran is winning. They're killing hundreds of U.S. troops. They're sinking American aircraft carriers, and they're destroying U.S. bases all across the Middle East. This is what he's saying.
در بحرین با 2 موشک بالستیک و سایر پایگاه‌های آمریکایی در منطقه مورد حملات.
All right. So that's basically, so that's Tehran Tom, right? Tehran Tom.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Oh, I was going to say a second ago, my timing was off. I was gonna say, I would have fallen out of my chair if he would have said, "Thank you, come again" at the end.
Thank you, come again, right? So we've got Baghdad Bob, we've got Tehran Tom, and here in the United States, we've got Tehran Ryan Matta.
Trying to convince you that Iran is just on the verge of getting ready to surrender. They're handing over all their weapons. They're going to serve up the second supreme leader on a platter. Everything's going to be great, and democracy is going to reverberate throughout the Middle East. We're going to have gas is going to be decked down at 90 cents a gallon. It's going to be cheaper and better than it ever was. Well, President Trump's trying to convince you that. Iran is out putting out a few videos and trolling a little bit. Check this out. We call it trolling. Iran's just doing a little trolling. You know what trolling? You've heard what trolling is, right, Trump?
Yeah, folks. Ryan Matta is literally playing the propaganda videos
where you shouldn't be playing,
from the IRGC.
and you keep thinking that you'll never get burned.
I mean, it's a good song.
It is a good song. We probably need to turn it off, but that's right. Ryan Matta is out there taking the propaganda videos from Tehran, from the Iranian regime, and gleefully playing it while he taunts and tries to make fun of President Trump and the United States military. Can you believe that that's actually happening?
Listen, I couldn't concentrate on what he was saying when he was speaking because I was distracted by that horrific shirt that he was wearing. What was that? But also, doesn't he seem like nervous or something to you? Like that's not normal like behavior in front of the camera for somebody that's used to being in front of the camera. And he seems very nervous. Like either he knows he's just pushing a bunch of propaganda bullshit or he's like nervous about something. He seemed nervous, did he not? Or is that drugs? I don't know.
I don't know if he seems nervous. I mean, I think he probably made about 77 videos today, and all of them were just increasingly more ridiculous and retarded than the one before that. I mean, he did one right before that where he's essentially seeding the ground. He's already sort of seeding the battlefield and letting you know that if you see any of the Iranian sleeper cells actually launch a terrorist attack in the United States, don't worry. It's just the Trump administration and a false flag. That's literally what I didn't want to play this entire video. This entire video is Ryan Matta saying that if you were to see, like, I don't know, like we saw over the weekend, 2 Muslims in New York City throw bombs into crowds of protesters in front of the mayor's mansion, don't worry. That's just a Trump government false flag operation. He's already seeding the ground for this. This guy, there is no way you're going to have to do a lot of work to convince me that this guy is not an Iranian foreign agent at this point.
Oh, yeah, this is what's been going on. These terrorist organizations, I don't think it's the IRGC. I think it's like the terrorist organizations themselves, like
Hezbollah, Hamas, all those guys. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And they are getting these people on board. And that's exactly what was happening with all of these student protest organizations, like at Columbia University, the Mahmoud Khalil and Mohsen Madawi and the Columbia University Apartheid Divest, the Students for Justice in Palestine. They were all in direct communication with terrorists. They were posting on their social media about the attack on October 7th, like 3 minutes before the attack ever happened. They posted, "We're back," and the SJP toolkit contained like graphics with paratroopers and stuff like that before the attack ever happened. They knew it was coming because these people were pushing the terrorist propaganda, and that's what they did across all these college campuses to convince these kids that they needed to support Palestine. And that's how you had the chickens for KFC marching in the streets with their rainbow flags for Palestine, even though they would have been thrown off of rooftops for being gay.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right. But here's this stuff has an impact, though, in our society, a very, very significant impact. It's not an accident. These people, the ones that are paying, because you pay for this, right? You don't get these willing Americans who were once MAGA folks, who were ardent Trump supporters, to just flip on a dime like that to everything that they stand for is now anti-Israel. Like you can't find a post on that artist formerly known as whatever the fuck his name is, on Candace Owens, on Ryan Matta, on any of these guys. You can't find a single post that doesn't mention Israel or Jews on their pages. You can't. I actually ran a test. I sent some folks to go try to do it. Let me know the last time you saw a post where at least once a day they didn't mention Israel or Jews. It's impossible. You can't do it. But this stuff has an impact. I want you to listen to this, SK. You haven't seen this video yet, right? This is who these people are talking to. The Ryan Mattas, the Candace Owenses, the artist formerly known as whatever the fuck his name is, all of the media, the Democrats, communists over in China, all of these groups in these universities. This is what they are creating, and they know it, and they're happy to do it as long as they continue to get their clicks and their engagement.
I think people were so loud on Palestine but so silent on Iran.
A lot of factors. Can I think for a second before I load my response?
Sure. But let me just give you some stats. More people died in Iran because of the Islamic Republic that kills and oppresses its own people. So this basically ticks all the left-wing narrative boxes. You have a group of oppressed people that are rising up against the tyrant, getting killed by that tyrant, shot in the head for protesting, which is their democratic right. You don't have a single campus shutdown. You don't have a single protest. You have protests by Iranians, but not by foreigners. Yet, you had protests non-stop for the last 2 years about Palestine, which I think they started the war by attacking Israel on 7th of October. Yeah, Israel responded, and they basically won the war. But then you had protests for 2 years condemning Israel, calling it a genocidal state, even though Israel could have committed genocide.
Now listen to her response here. Listen to what she says.
It took 2 years is because they didn't want to commit a genocide. But then you have the Islamic Republic that is actually causing a genocide, killing their own people. People not saying anything. Why do you think that is?
Many reasons. However, I do disagree fundamentally about there not being. Sorry, could you just repeat what you were saying? About,
yeah.
I disagree with you about the origins of October 7th and that.
Okay.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, so look, the thing is, Hamas was given $20 billion back in 2005, yeah? They could have built skyscrapers. They could have made Gaza the next Dubai if they wanted to, because they got the support from international community. They dragged every single Jew out of Gaza back in 2005. But then guess what happened? When Hamas took over, they killed all the oppositions, threw them off the buildings, destroyed all the glass houses that the Jews had built that provided food for them. Then they used the 20 billion to build tunnels, and then the leaders of Hamas, they went and lived in 5-star hotels in Qatar, whilst their sons were on private jets with half-naked women, whilst Palestinians were starving, or the people that live in Gaza. And then people scream genocide. They caused October 7th. They attack, and they try to commit a genocide on the Jews on the October 7th.
I'm gonna cut here. I can't.
They can't even. They're so.
Why?
Like, the cognitive dissonance here is unbelievable. This is the whole, like, you know, not believing what you're seeing with your eyes. Like, this is where we're at. These people are so indoctrinated, and the left has such a control over all of their voters and supporters. They believe everything they're told, and then when they're confronted with conflicting ideals and not, you know, asked why do you support this and not this, they have no idea how to answer, because what they are believing are not their core beliefs. That's why when you have your core beliefs and you're asked a question on the spot, like when I show up to this podcast and I have no clue what we're going to be talking about, I can answer questions and I can talk about this stuff because I have my core beliefs. Like, I know what I stand for. These people have no idea what they're standing for. I would have pressed her on the feminist issue and why, as a Democrat, as a liberal woman who is a feminist, and you support all of the feminist movements that have been going on in the United States, where you're crying about oppression of women in the United States of America, are you not standing up for actual oppression of women in Iran?
No, I mean, 100%. I mean, we've talked so many times about the Handmaid's Tale, the costume, everything, all that, everything about that. But you're 100% right. Understand, and I think we all know this by now. I don't know why they don't know it. Actually, I do know why they don't know it. And that stupid young girl is example number one, because they're just not smart at all. They think that they are super smart. They will lecture you and tell you exactly how smart and how much smarter they are than you are. But she couldn't even get over the simple fact, her cognitive dissonance, the separation between her brain and reality, could not comprehend the idea that Hamas started and attacked Israel on October 7th of 2023. She didn't even believe that that was how it started. And that was the only thing that she was even attempting to argue. And she couldn't do it. Her brain broke and she got up and ran away.
Yes. And when I would debate this all the time in 2024 and part of 2025, when I would debate the pro-Pally people, this was always that they have their talking points. Every single one of them repeat the exact same things. And their argument is always, well, the reason October 7th happened is because of the Israeli occupation in Palestine. None of them know when the occupation ended. None of them know the history. For the longest time, not a single one of them knew when they would say from the river to the sea. They didn't know what river, what sea. They didn't have any idea what they were talking about. These people are repeating propaganda. This is like this is this is going to have to be studied. One of these days, people will be studying this, because this is like the most effective psyop that has ever happened. Like, social media, I think, was the first. And I think we've moved on to using it as a political weapon.
Oh, 100%. I mean, as a psychological weapon, there's no question in my mind. In fact, I don't think it's going to be a question of studying this in the future. I think they're studying it day by day and how effective the psychological operation is being, because I mean, they are polluting these people's brains, and they know it.
Right. And like, when you scroll social media, if you pay attention, when you scroll social media, if you see a post, and then you see that it has tons and tons and tons of views and tons of likes and tons of comments, you're going to think that that post is more accurate and reputable and believable than one that doesn't have very many. And then when you go look, it can all be bots. That can be all engagement farming bots, not as actual real human being, until the few morons that decide to chime in. And people believe it because it looks real. They cannot recognize when they're being lied to and propagandized.
No, they can't. They can't recognize it. I don't even think they want to recognize it. There are very few people who are able to slowly sort of work themselves out of this brain damage that's happening to them. In fact, we know two of them, Claire Patriot and MAGA Meg, are two of them. They'll tell you their stories about how
Red Wave Unfiltered on
Red
Sundays
Wave
at
Unfiltered
8:30
on
p.m.
Sundays. Those are two former dyed-in-the-wool, blue-haired libs several years ago, and then they just watched, and their brains wouldn't allow them to be dog walked the way that these people are. But for them, for a lot of these younger people, it's happening at such an early age that I don't think they don't even know what's real and what's not real. They just don't even know.
Exactly. And the Democrats have been so effective. I know I talk about it all the time. I'm sorry. But when we listen to all these meetings and these planning meetings and these conversations, not only the protest groups, but the actual NGO ecosystem, like web, where they're talking about their strategies and how they're going to grow their ecosystem and how they're going to have this color revolution in the United States. One of the things that they talk about out loud, openly, is about the identity politics. We always talk about identity politics. They talk about how important it is to make sure that people's political beliefs are tied to their identity, because what happens is when a certain demographic, like if you're a college student and everyone that you're around is your age and they all hold this same belief, and it's all of this, moral superiority and Captain Save-A-Ho energy for the world and the United States and oppressed people and all of this stuff, you think you have the moral high ground. You think you're doing the right thing. You think you're standing on the right side. And then if somebody else holds an opposing view, that person's ostracized. And when you tie a person's identity to their politics, they have to conform because they want to be a part of the pack. It's human nature to want to be accepted and included in the pack. You don't want to be ostracized. And if you are a college student that has a conservative viewpoint, you are going to be ostracized. And most college students are not capable of handling being ostracized and isolated from the pack.
No, I agree. Tell me, isolation is a big fear. There's no question. But I mean, going back at a very, very, very young age, this identity politics for folks who are, I don't know, probably 30 and younger, identity politics is all they've really ever known. At least to the degree that it's been played out now. I mean, I think even back in the 80s and somewhat in the 90s, you still had the sort of the black versus white, the race discussions, though it got massively exacerbated under Obama. There's no question. But from probably early 2000s, when the gay, the LGBT, the LGBTQI, all of the things, right? All of the Islam, all of the different identity boxes that they want to put you in, the boxes just grew exponentially in the last 25 years. And I think nobody under the age of 30 really understands a world without it. But that's why they can't, once they're stuck in sort of that paradigm, their brains cannot, in a lot of ways, it cannot comprehend and it can't take in information that challenges that worldview. So back to the question that you said that you would have pushed back on that girl about as a feminist, as a woman, as someone who believes that the oppression of women is a bad thing. I know you do, because you say that we are oppressing women every day in this country. What about the actual women that are actually being oppressed? Did you see this? Did you see what's going on with the Iranian soccer team over in Australia?
I did. Is Australia sending them back or what? Because I saw Trump posted on True Social saying, Australia, don't do it. Don't send them back because they're going to be killed. If you are going to send them back, we will take them in the United States, because Trump wants to protect them for standing up for what was right and protesting their government. And Australia was talking about sending them back. I don't know what's going on with that, but I
don't know yet either. I've got 2 videos, and if I know that young girl's not watching this, but if you have anybody in your life who, if you've heard them say Trump hates women, Trump oppresses women, Republican, MAGA hate women, all that stuff, and they're out there defending the Iranian regime, I want you to watch these 2 videos I'm going to play for you. And then I don't ever want to hear you fucking mention another word about calling yourself a feminist or anybody else being oppressive to women. Never. I don't want to hear it.
Iranian security agents and team officials have just realised 5 of their players are gone.
They were trying to escape through the car park downstairs.
They run down the fire escape hoping to intercept them.
Because the elevator down to the garage takes too long, so the staircase is a better option.
Brother, you better run! Player supporters Tina and Lee give chase, running interference.
You're in Australia, you better run!
And hurling insults.
Get the out of our country, IRGC.
What I saw, the coach, the translator, and a few other members of their security desperately trying to get to the car park themselves. They were even banging on the door.
He goes down to try to get down into the garage, and the door is locked. So whether that was locked intentionally, it's a fire escape. The door should be open.
After hitting a dead end, the group runs back up, Lee and Tina on their tails.
Looks like a couple of players were trying to get out and they found out about it.
Upstairs in the lobby, the reality of the situation sets in.
And that's when you could see the distress. He looked like a man who had failed his job.
Very distraught. And, I think they were even yelling at one point.
They came in and out of the hotel, back into the lobby. There was chaos with them.
Okay, you all get the point, right? So that is life for women in Iran and girls and a hell of a lot of other people. That's life for them, where those women are representing the country of Iran. They are playing a professional sport at the highest level in their country and at the highest level in their world. And they're playing a friendly, they're playing part of the She Believes World Cup, if I'm not mistaken, or qualifying for the World Cup. And they're playing in Australia, and almost exact same time that the war breaks out between U.S., Israel, and Iran, that game is going on, and these women think and they hope and they pray that they might actually see liberation, liberty, and freedom at some point in their lives, and they refused to sing along to the Iranian national anthem. That's what they did. That's what this is all about.
Those are
They
real feminists right there.
Yes.
Those are real feminists. And I just want to say again, like you said, for all the people talking about how Trump hates women and all of that, I want you to understand that Donald Trump, he puts women in position of power on a regular basis, and he always has. He was like groundbreaking, one of the first people that started putting women. He has women. The only woman. She spoke at one of the Republican conventions. That he has a woman running all of his golf courses. She's in charge of every single one of the golf courses. Women don't have that position anywhere. It's a woman that does that. Donald Trump appointed Susie Wiles. He appointed Pam Bondi. He appointed Kristi Noem. He appointed Tulsi Gabbard. These are all very powerful, strong women. Donald Trump is actually very good at choosing very strong women to lead. He does it all the time. And I just don't understand. The whole MAGA men hate women thing is ridiculous to me. I've never felt more protected by anyone than I do around MAGA men. They are extremely kind and gentle and protective, the way men are supposed to be. As a woman, I don't want to have to protect the man standing next to me because he's a beta bitch boy.
No, you know who these so-called feminists on the left truly are, right? I'm going to show you another video, right? Because these so-called feminists on the left are the ones who would declare that President Trump is an oppressive totalitarian, and he hates women, he hates gays, he hates all those things, while they were doing exactly what this woman here is going to do, grabbing a woman by her wrist and dragging her back onto the bus to send her back to her oppression. That's who these women truly are. That's who these leftist women absolutely are. Watch this video. Dragging her by her wrist. Unbelievable.
Let's just, while we're watching that and thinking about what these women are going through just for not singing the national anthem for the IRGC, let's look at the fact that the feminists in the United States of America are such morons. They are screaming about oppression in the United States while we have women running for president. We have women running entire agencies of the U.S. government, but women are oppressed. On the other hand, in Iran, they have to wear hijabs or they will be beaten, killed, all sorts of terrible things. If you're a woman and you're not married, you have to get permission from your dad to like leave the house. You can't drive. Your husband has full control over you. Like they give classes on how to properly beat your wife. I mean, these women are actually oppressed. And the same women, Code Pink has its name because they started out as being like a feminist organization. All of the women's march groups that are hardcore liberal and were, supporting all of the immigration stuff, the pro-Palestine protests, the Cuba stuff, they're going on the flotilla. That's Code Pink. That's all those groups that go to Cuba. All those people, not a single one of those people are standing up for Iran and the women in Iran that are actually oppressed, because it's all bullshit theater. They're all playing on people's emotions, trying to get the identity politics and telling women you have to support the Democrat Party or you are not a woman. You don't support other women. Women are oppressed. We have to fight for this. And it's the exact opposite. Women have never been more free than women are in the United States of America today. And the same people that cry about oppression of women in the United States will not stand up in support of women in Iran and their freedom and ending their actual oppression. It's ridiculous.
I mean, you're totally right. And in the meantime, back here in this country, we have people who once build themselves as conservatives, as patriots, as MAGA, as America First people who are watching those videos that we just watched. They're now pointing their finger at President Trump and calling him the villain when he's out there tweeting to Australia saying, protect those women. Somebody please protect those women. Don't force them back into the oppression that they're getting ready to be forced back into. And we have these assholes like the patriotic blonde who is nothing more than a field general, just like Ryan Matta is, just like the artist formerly known as whatever the fuck his name is, all working at the direction, obviously, of Candace Owens. Maybe not directly, but they're all taking her lead, and they have gone full fucking circle back to the place that they once told you that they hated. They are nothing more than mouthpieces for these leftists. Look at this retard. Look at this bullshit. And just as I told you, here comes the draft. Congress passes automatic involuntary draft registration. She put this out today as if Congress in the dark of night passed some weird, crazy draft bill that's going to kick off the draft, and all of your sons and daughters are going to be drafted for World War III. They know it's coming. That's why they're doing it in the dark of night. And it's not even fucking true. It's not even true. And they don't even care. She'll never come back and correct this at all. She'll never be like, okay, maybe context is important here.
No, they're just going to scare all of the military age people in this country, which, again, all of you feminists that have been screaming about equality for all of this time, be careful what you wish for. If you believe this woman and you stand with her, be careful what you wish for, because, you know, women would have to register for the draft too. Women could be drafted as well. So what do you want? Like, do you want to be a woman? Do you want special treatment in certain areas, but not like, what is it? What do you want?
Do you know what actually happened there? Because the name of the act or whatever, the automatic involuntary draft registration law. Do you know what that was, SK?
I have no idea.
There
was always a draft.
No, there is. So it was in the National Defense authorization that passed about 2 months ago, right? That basically refunded defense and did all these things. So that was an amendment that was added to that. And all it does is it makes draft or selective service registration for males as they turn 18 automatic.
Yeah, I remember that because there was lots of debates on TikTok about the NDAA. That's what that is, right? They were saying that they changed all this stuff in the NDAA, and they were like, we're going to war. There's going to be, like, they were saying there's going to be drafts, all of this stuff. Feeling you went to jail. You could get arrested for not registering for the draft. All that did was make it automatic. So you don't face that threat when you turn 18 and you're a male. You're automatically put into the draft. That doesn't mean there's going to be a draft. It just means you don't have to figure out how to go register so you don't get thrown in jail.
That's exactly right. I have 3 boys. I have 3 boys under the age of 21. I got one that just turned 19. I got a 20 and a 21, almost 22-year-old. Do you know how many of their friends had no idea that they had to register for selective service? They had to go register for the draft. None of them knew that. In fact, most of their parents had totally forgotten. I had totally forgotten. Many of them didn't do it until well after they were 18, because I was like, shit, you guys have to go get registered for selective service. They're like, what do you mean? What does that mean? Yes, all of these boys, they could all have gone to jail.
Well,
they all could have gone to jail.
My husband and I were discussing this. I think it was just yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before, when all this draft stuff started going all over X everywhere? And I said something to him, and I'm like, my kid is 21. And I'm like, I don't remember him registering for did he register for the draft? And he's like, yeah, he did. And I'm like, I don't remember this. When did this happen? How did he do this? I have no idea how this works. And he's like, no, he did. I know he did. I made sure he did. I had no idea.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, and the Patriotic Blonde knows that, right? She's not a stupid person. She's just a propagandist at this point. And all she wants to do is she wants to appeal to this stupid little girl that the video we showed, who couldn't answer a single question and couldn't come up with a single argument because she has no principles at all. That's who she wants to appeal to. So she rushes out there and she says something that passed 2 months ago, that was debated 2 months ago, is now a brand new shiny object. That means that we're starting World War III. And by the way, it doesn't even go into effect until December 31st of 2026, meaning you will not be automatically registering males when they turn 18 until December 2026. What the hell fucking good does that do if we start World War III now?
Right. Also, the Fourth Strike said, as an 18-year-old migrant on a green card, I registered. Thank you for doing your duty and registering, Fourth Strike. Also, we are perfectly fine with people being here on green cards and immigrating here legally, migrating here legally. We support that fully. So thank you for doing that. Also, people are talking about how it is you register for the draft when you turn 18. And somebody was talking about registering to vote. I'm pretty sure my kid did it when he registered to vote, and he was able to register a few weeks before before he turned 18 because his birthday was right before the election, and they allow you to register like within so many weeks of the election, even if you're not 18, as long as you'll be 18 by the day of the election.
Yeah, no, I'm fairly certain. It's been a long time since I've done it. And I wasn't with my boys when they did it either. I'm almost positive that when you turn 18, you get you get an 18-year-old driver's license.
No,
No.
something
No,
came in the
you
mail.
have to go to the BMV, I think. Something comes in the mail and you have to take it to the DMV.
Yeah, but I think it
Or mail it
all
in.
happened when he went to register to vote, maybe. But I remember something coming in the mail, maybe.
Yep. So that's, I mean, that's what we're dealing with, right? And Patriotic Blonde and Ryan Matta and all the rest of them a year ago would have told you that they were patriotic conservatives, and now they are anything but that. They are nothing more than propagandists who if I didn't know any better, I would wonder if they're getting paid by Iran and they're going to need to register as foreign agents, because every single thing, every position that they hold is anti-Israel, anti-Trump, anti-America while we're at war. I mean, they're literally pushing Iranian propaganda. Ryan Matta took a video from the Iranian military, put it on his X page and said, look, guys, look how fun this is.
Yeah, it's also the CCP propaganda because Iran, people are not understanding when they say this war is not America first, blah, 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 bullshit. They don't understand the strategy here. They don't understand the big picture. And with Iran being in this conflict and being crippled, it is affecting China. It is affecting every single one of our adversaries. And that's why the CCP is pushing propaganda. That's why the cartel has teamed up with all of Iran's proxies and the CCP. That's why all these people are working together you don't think would be working together. Did you see that Stu Peters, it was Stu Peters that I retweeted that I was talking about earlier. He posted that he never thought, this is somebody who claims to be America first. Like, I took a screenshot of a post that said he was America first, standing up for all this America first stuff, pushing the America first narrative for all this and being against the war. And he posted, I never thought I would be on the side of Iran. And I'm like screenshotting him posting about America first like all the time. If you're America first, you support America regardless. You don't support a foreign country or stand on their side ever, whether you agree with the president or not. You do not support a foreign country. That is not America first.
And to do it when that foreign country is the most oppressive regime anywhere on the planet right now, with the exception of maybe North Korea, right? But North Korea, as far as I know, does not like doesn't force their daughters to be married at young age. They don't do like genital mutilation on young girls, so they don't enjoy sex. They don't have arranged marriages, though maybe they do. They don't force them into covering their bodies. They don't prevent them from leaving the house without a male chaperone. I mean, this is the craziest thing. So the former America First crowd is now best friends and regurgitating the agitprop from the most oppressive, violent regime to its own people on the planet while they're looking inward and saying, we're the problem. What?
It makes no sense at all whatsoever. And through what's happening right now, Donald Trump is strategically dismantling all of this elitist global control that's taking place. There's so much work being done behind the scenes on these NGO networks and the foreign government influence on all of these things. I don't think it's going to be that long before you see X change dramatically, because they are figuring out these bot farms and what triggers the bots to come in and comment, where it happens, what the comments are that call the bots in. And it's all the same. The Candace Owens thing, it is all a mirage. It is not, the majority of this support is not coming from actual people. It is bots. Anti-MAGA, the division in the Trump party that it appears you're seeing doesn't actually exist like you think it does. There are a few outliers. It's like the Westboro Baptist Church they don't account for all Baptists. It's like a teeny tiny little church in a rural, town in Kansas, and they're crazy. And all the Baptists are like, no. Why do you use the name Baptist? You don't belong here. That's what's going on here. You have the extreme crazy people that's just a few people that are loud and outspoken, and then you have all of the bots and the sock puppet accounts and all of that stuff that are going and making it look like there are more people that support this than actually do.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I mean, there are actual real consequences. There are real threats facing this country, and the propaganda. We showed this earlier. I wanted to bring this back up, right? I mean, the propaganda is part of whether they know that they're doing this. I think some of them do. I think some of them just understand that, hey, if I keep talking about this particular type of topic, I get the bots to come out and I get paid and I make a lot of money for it. I mean, I think today, Ryan Matta is posting a video or posting a post where he's bragging about the fact that he just started his Instagram account a year ago and he's got 500,000 followers, and he gained those followers purely by posting this slop and this nonsense. But he's seeding the ground here. He's trying to set the expectation that any sort of Iranian-backed Islamic or any terrorist attack inside this country will be a false flag planned and orchestrated by President Trump and the Trump administration. That's what he's doing. He's already seeding the ground for it while we have this playing out in real time. Right?
Yes. And earlier today, I don't know if you guys saw, my mom told me that they issued a warning in Southern California, warning people to stay inside their homes for like 34 hours or so many hours. And my mom was like, oh my gosh, this is so obvious. They were saying it was because of the temperature outside. It was going to be 90 something degrees. And I'm like, it's Southern California. It gets to be like 120 degrees in Death Valley. Like, what is going on? She said, exactly. Like, people are just too dumb to see this, or do they just don't pay attention? She was like, something's going to come out in just a little bit. Watch. And it wasn't long after that they started talking about this. You had other people talking about the fact that there are sleeper cells here that they were given their orders, however long ago it was, last week, I think. They were given their orders, and they're saying that a lot of Iran's proxies, like Hezbollah and Hamas, they're sleeper cells here, that they have some type of drone weaponry that they're trying to plan on using on the West Coast. And then you have people like Ryan Matta and people like that coming out at the same time all of this is happening, telling people that if anything happens or when anything happens, just know already have it in your mind that this is a false flag. This right here is an actual psyop. He's pushing propaganda to make people believe something before it even happens.
That's exactly right. I mean, this is a very significant threat. The FBI warns police or law enforcement agencies in California that they have credible intelligence that Iran wants to retaliate for the U.S. attacks by launching drone attacks on civilian population in California on the West Coast. They plan to do it from a boat offshore. They're planning to target military installations, go after critical infrastructure. They want to hit economic and financial targets and iconic landmines. And by the way, all of you civilians that are around there, you're viable targets. Let me ask, hey, what's Iran shooting at right now in the Middle East? Civilian targets, right? They don't care. So they're going to make a stink over an accident where a school gets hit because of potentially bad intelligence. Meanwhile, every rocket they've launched has been into civilian populations, civilian targets. Every single one of them, because they know the U.S. will not do that. So again, this is a serious issue. This is a serious threat. We've been warning about the potential for these sleeper cells for a long time. I mean, back when the oatmeal brain Otto Penn Biden presidency was knowingly allowing them across the border and just scattering them to the wind in our country. We were telling you that this is exactly the potentiality that they were hoping for, that they could create.
Yes.
And you look like you had something to say.
No, I was just going to say you're exactly right. And I would say there are lots of people on X you can follow. Sometimes I have my doubts, but she follows me. So, and I think she does a good job of explaining the threats that are taking place and trying to make people understand, and law enforcement agencies, and how to prepare citizens and what to watch out for. If you see something, say something type of thing, go on X and follow Sarah Adams, and just look through her stuff and prepare yourself. Just, always be aware of your surroundings, because they intercept intelligence, that she's been tracking these terrorists for a very long time. We had congressional reports that went out, DHS reports that went out all during 2024, 2023. There are thousands and thousands of known, potential known terrorists, as well as known identified terrorists that were let into the United States under the Biden administration. That was with a purpose, and they're here. So Kay Paso said Sarah Adams is iffy at times, in my opinion. I agree, but she was one of the lead investigators and advisors for the Benghazi investigation. She was part of all of that. She was saying this is wrong and this is what really happened. She wasn't, I don't know. You can follow her. Either way, the advice that she gives, whether it ends up happening or not, is good advice to have about being aware. These are the plans that they have. These are the types of targets they are going to target. They are going to target transit, planes, all of that. And look, I think Nam was going to talk about what's going on with the legislation and the shutdown, the government shutdown, and TSA and the funding. This is all happening for a reason, and the people that are stopping this funding are the Democrats, and they are doing it for a reason. And then you have people like these influencers telling you if there are attacks, they are false flags, because it's the Democrat Party doing. This is the color revolution.
It is. This is all part of the color revolution. So imagine, let's see if we can zoom out a little bit and kind of paint this picture, right? So we had 10, 15, 20, nobody really knows, millions of illegal aliens flooded across the border from 2021 until the end of 2024. Trump's put a complete and absolute stop to it. In that mass of humanity, we really don't have any idea how many known terrorists made it across, how many human traffickers, cartel members, all that stuff. We don't know. So President Trump, and one of his first actions is he seals the border shut, and then he starts to hunt down, to try to remove all of the criminal cartel members and as many of these known terrorists as they could possibly find, to get them out of the country. And what have the Democrats done from day one? What have they done? They've done everything they can to block it, to stop it. Is it for this exact reason? I don't know.
This is why. This is why. This is the color revolution. This is what we investigate all the time. The organizations, the money flow, the foreign governments that are working together and funding this, that don't make any sense of why they're working together. Cuba, Venezuela, Iran's proxies, Iran, China, Russia sometimes, they're a fence sitter. All these countries are working together, and they don't all have the same end goal, but they all have the same goal right now, because the first step to be able to get to their end goal is to remove Donald Trump and to overthrow the United States government, because they want to replace your Constitution. And the 250th birthday of the United States is coming up July 4th. So again, there is plans, the new pluralists, all of these people pushing pluralism. There's a plan behind all of this that will be implemented after they accomplish what it is they're set out to do. So everybody needs to pay attention and listen to what we say, because the only way to stop it, they put their playbook out there. I've said this 1,000 times. They put their playbook out there. We are in a football game on the 2-yard line. The other team has the ball. All the Republicans in Congress have to do is look at the playbook that they've given you. We already know every play it is that they're going to make. We just have to stop it. It's very easy. It's written right there. You have directions. Read it.
Well, we've got a lot of people that are supposedly on our team who actually aren't. They're on the other team, and that's certainly, it's definitely a problem. But but that just kind of blew my mind. We have very serious, very, very serious threats going on in this country right now, and the fact that we've got Democrats who, even giving them the most possible leash that you can imagine, are playing games to, I don't know, to placate their base, even though we all know that the real goal here is to get Trump out of office and to stop him from being able to do the end around and the regime change, the global regime change that he's trying to do. We've got Department of Homeland Security that is currently shut down. We've got massive amounts of threats in this country. We've got potential, sleeper cells, terrorist sleeper cells. We've got cartels that are out there. We've got billions and billions of dollars in fraud shut down. And what do the Democrats want to do? They want to punish you people. They want to punish all of you by shutting down your ability to move around the country and to be safe in this country to protect illegal immigrants. I want you guys to listen. Hakeem Jeffries, the dollar store Obama, was asked about this. Did you hear his response, SK, to why the government shut down?
Sort of, when you played it a little bit before when we were talking, but can I point out real quick, Kay Pasto, she is on it. She said, talking about Sarah Adams, she said, I've watched her many times on the Sean Ryan show. She's iffy sometimes. She doesn't always pass my discernment test. Sean doesn't pass my test as well. Bingo. Spot on. Agree.
Yeah.
Completely and totally out of control group of people. It's the reason why we are in a DHS shutdown right now, because Republicans have refused to agree to the type of bold, transformative, meaningful, and dramatic reforms we are demanding in order for the Department of Homeland Security funding bill to move forward.
Just pause right there. Sorry, just pause right there and consider what he's saying, right? So him and the rest of these morons are going to point at Republicans and saying, you are the reason that the Department of Homeland Security is shut down. They are blaming the Republicans, and Democrats like that stupid girl and people like Ryan Matta and the rest of them. They're running with this. They're pushing this too. The reason why DHS is currently shut down, hundreds of thousands, I think there's 160,000 DHS employees, something like that. They're not being paid. We've got TSA is basically shut down. They're walking off the job. You've got 3, 4, 5 hour waits at TSA. You've got FEMA that is not currently funded. And we had, 2 massive storms and hurricanes just in the last week. Last Friday, when we were supposed to do an after-hours show, we did not do one because SK was hiding in a closet as a result of a tornado in Tulsa, and Patriot Dad and I were doing other things. That's why we didn't have the show. Just yesterday in Indiana, we had, what was it called? It's I've got a picture of it somewhere. Anyway, Tornado Lake, Lake Village, Indiana was completely obliterated. FEMA is not currently funded. And this guy is going to tell you the reason why it's not funding is because they demand, just randomly out of nowhere, just out of their hat, they want to pluck all these ridiculous brand new regulations that only them, that they are the arbiters of saying you are going to implement these regulations or else. Why do they think they're in power, and why are we letting them be in power?
This is a very good question that you propose, and I will address that if you'll let me. Also, it's probably a good thing I don't have control over putting the comments on the screen, because I would be putting comments up on the screen and derailing things constantly, because Kay Pasto said SK's in the closet with a question mark.
No, but he's not done yet. He's not done yet. So did you guys hear some of their demands? I want you to listen to these demands. These demands are why Democrats have DHS shut down, so that we can't prepare for the upcoming World Cup. We can't prepare for the Nation 250 celebration. A lot of coordination has to go on with law enforcement across the country for this. We've got terrorist threats. We've got sleeper cells. We've got Iran trying to send drones over our West Coast and blow up military installations, financial institutions, all these things. And this is why. Listen.
And I won't go through all of the demands, much of which we've talked about repeatedly in the public, but one of those demands is keep ICE out of sensitive locations. And we've defined that as schools, houses of worship, hospitals, and polling sites. We want an...
I'm sorry, what?
That thing. It's numb. It's that thing. That's that thing that they said was never happening. It doesn't happen.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Polling sites. Why would you not want ICE anywhere near your polling sites?
I don't know. Weird, because I thought illegals weren't voting. Why would ICE being near polling places affect anything?
Okay, fine. Listen, maybe he slipped up and he said the part that he wasn't supposed to say out loud. We all know what this is about. Even Democrats all know what this is about. Democrat voters, none of them actually believe that Democrats want to shove 20, 30, 40 million foreigners into our country under the premise that none of them will ever actually be able to vote. That nobody believes that. Nobody believes that. But why does it sound like they are trying to carve out portions of society where federal law cannot be enforced?
Bingo. And here's the thing, that would make these places targets for attacks and things like that. And that's every single place, that schools, that's churches. You wouldn't feel safe doing the things that you should always feel safe doing, going to your place of worship. This is, again, the psychological part of it. I'm sure that's exactly what you're going to say before I cut you off. You should probably talk about that.
No, I'm blown away that he would even mention a place of worship. I mean, I can only assume that he's talking about mosques, because you know that they don't give a flying fuck about Christian places of worship at all. As we just watched them spend the last, I don't know, month and a half pretending like storming a Christian church, obstructing and attacking and violating those people's First Amendment rights was all just free speech. What? They don't care about places of worship unless it's a mosque. That's the only place of worship that these fucking animals give a shit about. Schools? Listen, I got to be honest with you. I don't know why your illegal alien children are sucking tax dollars from our tax base in our schools. Why? Why are we doing that? Why are we paying for that? Hospitals.
Because of
that means the
identity
taxpayers
politics.
paying for that too. We're paying for all of that. These are all places that taxpayers have to subsidize for this to happen. And you're trying to create sanctuary cities inside of them where we can't go and remove them. Absolutely fucking not. No.
This is the identity politics. The reason these things are happening and taxpayer dollars are being sucked into these places to support illegal immigrants is because they've convinced these people that it's the moral thing to do. It's the right thing to do to support all of these people. And you're a terrible person if you don't support it. And all of your peers support it. So you can't be against it, because then you're going to be ostracized and, separated from the group. And everyone's DNA, humans, we still are cavemen. And when a person was separated from their tribe, they were cast out and they couldn't reproduce. So your DNA didn't live on. Like, this was not just the end of you, it was the end of your entire lineage. It would end everything. Being separated from your tribe and ostracized is, like, in your DNA, one of the worst things that can happen to you. So when they tie your politics, your identity, this is what happens. And this is how they're controlling these people that are standing up for these things, that those of us that are not tied to this identity politics situation, we don't support it. We see what's going on. You have to be aware when this is taking place.
Yeah, no, we do. I mean, no, I agree. So, I mean, all of this stuff, at the end of the day, we know the reason why Democrats and former MAGA, so-called America First, black pill, doom and gloomers, doomsday retards, their default position is America bad, everybody else good. In fact, they keep saying it over. I never thought that I'd be on the side of the totalitarian, authoritarian, oppressive Islamic regime in Iran. Well, here you are. You're doing it. Because you actually hate and you actually despise what this country stands for, which is the position that the Democrats have staked out as long as my entire adult life. But they are actually going to bat for these ideas 100%. So you can't remove illegal aliens at all. In fact, they're going to make it as difficult as possible. And at the same time, you can't do anything to reasonably verify that they are not voting in your elections. So we know that we're having a hell of a time getting the Senate, the rhinos in the Senate. John Thune, what a worthless pile of shit we have for a Senate Majority Leader in John Thune.
Did you get any of Data Republican stuff that she posted about John Thune and Punch Bowl and all of that? Do you?
No, I mean I have it. I don't have it available to bring up. We can bring it up.
Well, I think at some point while talking about the SAVE Act, we have to address this because she exposed something enormous with what's going on with John Thune and who supports him and his campaign and the money he gets, and Punch Bowl and all of the money, the access laundering and the money that flows through Punch Bowl. And when Punch Bowl, did you know that Punch Bowl started on January 6th, 2021?
I did, actually. I did. Seems like Punch Bowl Politico. All right, hello, Mr. Ditto. Oh, look at there. Here we go.
She's got so many. They're probably going to be hard to find.
Nope, I got them right here. This is March 9th is when the first one came out, right? Now sells for Capitol
About
Hill.
Thune?
Doge.
Yeah, I think it was Monday. And the first one was about Thune, and then she started going into Punch Bowl, and some of them are on comments, and she calls people out directly. One person commented to her and said she was fucking nuts. She reposted their comment and said that her ghostwriter and her want to use that on their jacket.
It was cover. Keith Olbermann.
Yes, Keith Olbermann said she was fucking nuts. And she said, we would like to use this on the jacket cover of our book. Can you go ahead and can we get your approval for that? You need to reach out here. Like, she posted it publicly. I'm like, she is savage and hilarious.
Oh, she is. She's savage. She's hilarious. All right. So, all right, SK. I've got the thread up here, or I've got Data Republican up here. So can you just sort of, for the crowd, can you try to summarize?
I can summarize.
Let's summarize
very quickly.
Yeah, let's do that.
So in that first post, she wrote to that guy. I think he's a writer, or he's part of the Punch Bowl stuff. And
Mr. Desiderio, this guy here, Mr. Desiderio.
Yes.
Okay.
And she smoked him savage. And she also goes off on John Thune and talks about all of his access, things like that. And she said there's a structural reason this happens. So Jake Sherman described Punch Bowl's business model in his own words on the Rebooting podcast in January of 2022. Nearly 90% of the outlet's revenue comes from corporate sponsoring, trade groups and companies looking to get their public affairs messaging in front of those making public policy. The sponsors documented at Punch Bowl include like ExxonMobil, Chevron, Facebook, JP, all the big people you can imagine. And they pay for Punch Bowl. Then Congress, our tax dollars, are paying for pro subscriptions just like they were. Remember, one of the first things that Doge did was shut down all those pro subscriptions for government workers and agencies and Congress and all of that, because they were giving hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to the different like liberal news organizations. And Punch Bowl's the same thing. Congress is like their exclusive audience, and they get like 65,000 clicks per month just from Congress. So they put all these things in front of, it's lobbying is what it is. And they're using your tax dollars to lobby, which is crazy. So she posted yesterday saying Congress employs roughly 18,500 staffers. If each of them opens the Punch Bowl newsletter 3 to 4 times per week, that alone produces around 65,000 impressions. The implication, Punch Bowl's core audience is Congress itself. That suggests a circular model. Sponsors purchase advertising in Punch Bowl news. Punch Bowl maintains direct access to Senator Thune. Senator Thune advances priorities aligned with those sponsors, validating the value of their advertising. Sponsors then donate to Senator Thune and other members of Congress through PACs, and then the cycle repeats. A similar dynamic happens around Axios and Politico Playbook. And no lectures on this is how it's always worked in DC. This right here is why DC is a failure. And here's the model. There are other models that she put up. There are other screenshots with graphics. I'm not sure exactly where they are. But you guys need to go check that out. Maybe search her page, look at the replies, all those things, because she goes in detail describing, and she goes off on lots of people. She did not hold back. For like 2 days or 3 days now, she's been going hardcore at this because she's exposing exactly why John Thune isn't doing his job. And this is why we're all sitting around like, we gave Republicans control of the House and the Senate. Why are they not doing anything? She's exposing it right here. It's not only the NGOs that are doing this. Everything is being pushed in front of Congress, and they're being guided through this newsletter. And your taxpayer dollars are going to support the subscriptions, but also huge corporate sponsors. This newsletter is making shitloads of money, and then they are laundering access. They're buying access. They're getting what they want pushed through, and nobody's doing anything about it.
Listen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost positive that I saw Data Republican say in one of her threads that in Punchbowl's first year in operation, they had over $15 million in revenue. I believe that was the number. I think it was a huge number. Huge. It's completely unheard of number for a so-called media outlet.
Right. And you have to also try to reconcile that in your brain with these people that are so loud about AIPAC and Israel's influence on Congress for lobbying. Just so you're aware, you can go look up the lobbying dollars that AIPAC spent in Congress, and you're talking hundreds and hundreds of members of the House and the Senate, which make up those lobbying dollars. AIPAC's like towards the bottom. They spent like $3 million in 2024. And these people always repeat these 20 million or 23 million or whatever in lobbying money to Congress. What you need to be looking at is these big corporations that are actually, they are pushing all of what they want passed through things like this punch bowl thing. And that's just how they're getting the Congress is getting told what to do by their sponsors. And then donations are made to their campaigns from the corporation. She has it listed out, the money that John Thune has received from all of the punch bowl corporate sponsors. They're all donating like $110,000 here. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars to John Thune. That's why John Thune is sitting with his thumbs up his ass.
Yep. No, he 100% is. So, but listen, the point of all this is, so these huge corporations, these lobbyists, these donors, they're the ones that are writing these bills. In fact, there wouldn't be a single bill work its way through Congress, frankly, unless some lobbyist or some big corporation was pushing it. It just wouldn't. I mean, that's why it seems like these people are never working on our behalf. They always seem to be doing things that never impact or really help any of us, but they make a lot of their friends like super, super rich, and both sides do it. But you actually do have power over these people. And you're seeing that right now with John Cornyn. John Cornyn's locked in this runoff battle down in Texas against Ken Paxton in the primary for John Cornyn. He's the incumbent for that Senate seat down there. And because he's getting ready to lose his job, John Cornyn, who is probably one of the biggest rhinos in all of Republican history, Republican politics anywhere, he's actually starting to change his tune because he wants Trump's endorsement, and two, he wants your vote in Texas. Let me ask you a question. If you're in Texas and you're voting in that primary and you've got Ken Paxton who's saying, yes, SAVE Act, do it now. Yes, blow up the filibuster, do it now. And you've got John Cornyn who's like, well, I mean, we've got these norms and we've got these rules, and these rules only ever really seem to benefit the Democrats, but we don't want to tip over the apple cart. Who the fuck do you think you're going to vote for? You're going to vote for Ken Paxton. And John Cornyn knows that. So now he's starting to change his tune. You actually do have power over these people. Unfortunately, the only time you have power from people like John Cornyn is every 6 years. The other 5.5 years, he doesn't give a damn what you think at all. Like not even a little bit. And for some reason, we can never seem to remember this. But It seems like John Cornyn, because he is currently in the Senate, he actually is a vote in the Senate. Seems like he may be softening his tune just so he can, I don't know, maybe win that primary. We'll see. I understand that the Senate Majority Leader John Thune is supposed to be bringing the SAVE Act up for a full floor vote next week without the speaking filibuster. What I mean by that is, can it get over the 60 votes to end the normal filibuster? It's not going to. And then I believe that his intention is to say, yep, see guys, we just don't have the votes, and just move on from the SAVE Act, is I believe where John Thune currently is.
Which is crazy because 85, this is how, I don't even understand how in 2026 Congress can still behave this way, because this is an 85-15 issue in the United States. 85% of Americans support the SAVE Act. I don't think with the third world countries require you to have ID to vote.
Well,
this is the United States of America. This is crazy.
It is, but this is the worst part about this, right? So this bill has, or the concept of voter ID, right? That being able to prove who you are, the concept of making sure that you're a U.S. citizen when you vote is so fucking popular that even Chuck Schumer, as he goes out and he tries to sell this garbage, it isn't working.
It makes it allows ICE tens of billions of people off the rolls.
So sorry, this is a little quiet. You guys may have to listen closely. So this is funny. He's like, okay, my handlers say I have to go out there and I have to oppose the SAVE Act, which is the most sane, I think, piece of legislation that may have come through the Senate in, I don't know, 100 years. It's the most common sense piece of legislation there is. Prove that you're a U.S. citizen to register to vote. Bring an ID when you vote. I mean, that's essentially the SAVE Act. So he goes out there and he's like, okay, I have to say things that I know are going to upset people. They're trigger words.
It's brainwashing. It's literal. Yep. They're hypnotized and they say buzzwords and they know that's their dog whistle that only the dogs can hear. They're the dogs and they don't even know.
The first dog whistle was ICE can remove tens of billions of people from the voter rolls. Let me play this again for you, because that's what he says. ICE has the power to go in and remove tens of billions of voters from the voter rolls.
It makes it allows ICE
to
kick tens of billions of people off the rolls.
Right
off.
They
don't tell them until election day, and you show up and you say, you're not registered anymore. You're not registered here. You're not on the rolls.
I mean, can you believe the level of just absolute slop hogwash bullshit that this guy has to go out there and say with a straight face? These guys are incredible actors. They're incredible actors. This is fantastic.
Give
this man the Emmy.
Right? And I don't, because he said the exact opposite multiple times. I wish I had the videos available to me at my fingertips where Chuck Schumer is advocating for everything he's saying right now that he's against. So I don't understand this. Just like Nancy Pelosi, and the 2020 election is the most secure election in U.S. history, according to all the Democrats. 2016 was stolen. It was definitely stolen. It was stolen straight away from Hillary Clinton. 2020, we turn around, pandemic, voting, everything with voting is changing across the country. Some states are changing laws unconstitutionally. All sorts of irregularities. 2020, guys, most secure election in U.S. history. Then you fast forward again. You can go back. Nancy Pelosi is talking about the voting machines being unsecure, like in the early 2000s. She's been talking about it for years and years and years. Now, and she's been saying with her whole ass chest since 2020 that our elections are secure. You have nothing to worry about. How these people sleep at night. These people are actually evil. They are evil.
They are. I'm glad you brought that up, because I've got one more video to burn through before we wrap up here. One more, because now that you mentioned the 2020 election, we've had some activity down in Maricopa County in Arizona. Not just, however, from the 2020 election, but from the 2022 election and the 2024 election. Let me play this video for you. Where are you? And I hope that this tells the whole story. If not, I've got another one.
In this grand jury subpoena that went in the last few days to Maricopa County, seized many gigabytes of election data, is the 2024 election, which is interesting because President Trump won there. But there is a discovery that was made by congressional observers. Every year, the House Administration Committee sends observers, one Democrat, one Republican, to various voting centers. One of the teams, the Republican-Democrat team that went to Maricopa County, observed something very disturbing. They took pictures. They wrote a long report. Congressman Abe Hamadeh hinted at this in an oversight letter recently. The information in that report was so troubling to the FBI, and when coupled to the things that the Arizona Senate found in 2020 that were raised as concerns, and the things that Hamadeh and Kerry Lake raised in 2022, they were able to get a grand jury subpoena from a federal grand jury and execute the transmission of a large amount of voter data. They're going to go through that data, looking for some of the telltale signs that were in this congressional report. I hope in the next couple of days to make that congressional report public so everybody can see what it was that observers on Brian Stiles' House Administration Committee saw. Brian Stile himself acknowledged that they were working with federal authorities on this specific Arizona matter. So you got Congress working with the FBI. And I think this is phase 2 of about a 5-phase look at states, particularly blue states or blue areas of states, where elections are not administered the way the law says they're supposed to be. And as a result, the FBI may come in and prosecute people because it is a federal felony if you don't follow your state's laws, if you don't treat everybody the same under your state law.
So there's that. So I heard this somewhere else, right? So the current investigation that is going on in Georgia and in Maricopa County, I can't talk anymore. Been talking way too long. Maricopa County, Arizona, are investigations purely into process to making sure that the letter of federal election law was actually enforced and followed uniformly across precincts and across cities and many, many, many states. Because those are crimes, right? And you can certainly affect people's ability to vote, and you can affect the outcome of votes in meaningful ways if you are not following the process. There's a lot more to come from that. I've seen some pretty significant reporting coming from Sidney Powell today that I started sharing about some findings in these machines. Anyway, we'll leave that there. There's a lot more to come out of this, but I'm going to tell you right now, stay tuned on the elections because they're not even close to being done with these things. Stay tuned.
I agree. I think it's going to get really spicy. But I was going to ask you if we have a few minutes before we end the show. I don't know what else you have to talk about because, again, I didn't do any of this. Nam needs all of the props. He did all of this tonight.
I do not need any props.
Yes, you do. You did produce it. You've been running
I do have
it.
one more.
You prepared for everything. But I think we should take a few minutes and go through the comments and talk to our little Patriot family because I love our Patriot family and the people that are in the comments every day. And I get distracted every time we're on here. But some of them tonight are hilarious. So I was telling them a second ago, get your super chats in, your Rumble rants, whatever the things, your questions. If you have questions you want answered, I don't know, Nam, you can tell me because you're running this, but maybe we have a few questions to like talk to everybody and answer some questions.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, if you've got questions, throw them in there. I mean, guys, every single time, if you want us to stop what we're doing and get engaged, super chat, Rumble rant's the easiest way to do it because it flashes in our eyes. Everybody can see it. Otherwise, I get sort of tunnel vision. Pen name. That's what Nam means. Who asked that? Did someone ask what?
The amazing Tora said pen name. That's yeah.
Yeah. It's anonymous. Basically, it means anonymous. But yeah.
I don't remember. Right. I totally just forgot what I was going to say. But make sure if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat. Send it a super chat if you can. Send Rumble rant, whatever it's called. I don't know. We suck at this, but I do want to spend some time with you guys. Make sure you go hit the like button, share it out. We didn't do any promos today. All of us have been super busy. Patriot Dad's obviously not here, and
on my personal stuff. Yeah, great. When Patriot Dad's not here, like stuff just kind of work.
Well,
Because
you've
we
been
all
doing
have
great.
our roles, and now I'm doing like 3 roles, and I'm not a big fan of it because I actually have a day job too.
He's doing all of the roles. I'm here for comedy relief, you guys.
Comedy relief.
Yeah, but also make sure you subscribe if you're not. Make sure you like exit out of the chat. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not. Make sure you share this out because we didn't do any promos and the X feed wasn't working. And
I got it working, but it was about 45 minutes into.
How did you
the
get
show.
that working while we were doing?
I just
the
kept
show
pushing
and
the
you were
button up here.
Oh,
I just kept pushing
because
the go
you
live
were
button.
producing this and talking and running it and trying to keep it on the rails because I will definitely take it off the rails. You were doing all
And
that you
troubleshooting,
were-
yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I got it work. I got it to go live about 45 minutes into it. So
That's crazy because and then here I am and I just see a comment and I'm like squirrel and then I'm like I have no idea what we're even talking about here.
derail.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Fantastic. Hey, a little bit of programming note. I do not know whether we're going to have a show on Friday or not. I don't know what Patriot Dad's up to. SK, maybe you and I don't know. Maybe we could get a friend or two to join. Why don't we work on that? Why don't we see if we can maybe get someone to join? I'll find out first thing tomorrow morning if Patriot Dad's going to be able to join. He's with the family doing Disney Orlando East stuff plus a work trip at the same time. This show is and stepping away from the family is not a high on his priority list right now, and I totally get that. He works really hard. They've had a pretty shitty freaking year, so
Yes,
as you can imagine.
If you didn't know, if you're new here, Patriot Dad's house burned down back in November. It's been bad for several of us actually. I had a death in the family. It's been good times over here. I don't know what happened, but I was gonna say earlier, Kay Pasto made another hilarious comment, but she was being serious. She said that we need a Data Republican for Dummies segment so we can talk about Data Republicans posts. Other people were saying that Data Republicans posts are too smart for them and they need somebody to dumb it down and explain it a little bit. And I wanted to laugh, but I didn't want to derail it because I talk to her all the time and I tell her all the time that I'm technologically retarded, or you've seen it on here. She says things to me and I'm like, I don't even know what that word means.
Autopoescence?
Autopoiesis. Oh, that's the one. You guys, if you don't know, also, Data Republican is deaf, and my dumbass when she came on here like the first time, and she was texting me because it was the second time, and her talk to text wasn't working, so she was texting me and I was reading the text. I saw a word that I had never seen before, and I was like, I don't know what that means, and she typed it to tell me what it was, and I was like, can you type that phonetically? She was like, no, LOL. I was like, oh shit. I didn't even think about that. She doesn't know how to spell it phonetically because she can't hear.
Yeah, no, she can't.
That's what you guys are dealing with here, okay?
Listen, Patriot Dad and I and SK, we've been doing this stuff for a very, very, very long time, right? And I don't mean like podcasts. I don't mean like making content. That's all relatively new, at least for me it is. But trying to understand and research and following this political game, because frankly, it does feel like a game in a lot of ways. Sometimes there's just some information and there's some content that you have to be able to go deep in. You have to be able to read it. You have to understand it. Understanding it at a very surface level probably isn't necessarily as good for you as trying to, work your way through going deep. And a lot of what Data Republican does, you need to spend the time to read her threads. Otherwise, the very high level surface stuff doesn't really even touch the surface of what's happening. Mike Benz is another one of those people where you have to follow along. Otherwise, you're going to miss the detail. And a lot of times, the devil is significantly hidden in the detail.
But this is also, I feel like, why we're not really. We're making progress, but there's only so many people that do the type of work and the deep dives and are looking and investigating and following all this stuff that are capable of getting it in front of people that can actually change things and make a difference. And sometimes it feels like we're doing a lot of work for nothing, and it's scary because there's all these things going on and we want to stop it and we want to let everybody know, but I'm always on here saying I don't even know how to explain what's going on because it would take like all day. It would be an entire conversation. There's just so much. So if you start following her, following Mike Benz, you're right. If you want to go on those deep dives and you want to learn, spreading this information is the only way we're going to be able to get it out there, to make people aware and to pay attention to certain things. I do my best to try and tell you guys like what words to look out for and things like that, so you understand what's going on. But the only way this is going to get out there and people are going to be able to learn and understand, and we all have to work together to stop this, is if more people are able to see this information. So we have to try and figure out how to share it. I never wanted to grow. I didn't want to do this. I don't want to be famous. I don't want people to know who I am. I don't want people to see me on the streets and be like, hey, SK. I don't want any of that. I'll be awkward. Please don't do that. But I also realize that we've all been working really hard and investigating all of these things. And the only way change is going to come and things are going to happen and we're going to be able to preserve our constitutional republic and the things that this country was founded upon and what all of us really and truly care about and uphold as American values. We all have to work together, and as many people as possible have to be able to see this information and understand it so that we can vote the right way, get the right people's attention to pass legislation and force Congress to act. They need to get off their asses. We handed them control of the House and the Senate, and one of the main issues that the Republicans ran on was the SAVE Act and making sure that only U.S. citizens are voting in our elections and our elections are secure, and nothing's being done, and we have the majority. We have to get loud. We have to contact them. We have to tell them, pass this now. And then we need to go spread everywhere we can the influence that's taking place, the access laundering, the money laundering, the lining of the pockets. That all has to be exposed and stopped so that our elections can remain secure, because they're all being manipulated.
Yep. So to Kay Posto, I'm not sure if this was your entire question because I don't actually see the question here. Do you remember when Trump said that he is going to get the Save America Act passed with or without Congress? Yes. I guess what's the follow-on question there? Because I think what he was referring to was he's going to try to do some things with executive orders, but he can't, right? I mean, executive orders can only impact the executive branch and how the executive branch interprets a rule, things that it does internally. An executive order will absolutely have no effect on a state running an election or what they require for identification. The only way to do this at a federal level, universally across the country, is through the SAVE Act. It's the only way it can get done. There's no other way.
I agree. I completely agree with that. It's not constitutional for the states are per the Constitution. The states run their own elections and they do so how they want to do that. And I've always said a very easy solution for this is something like the SAVE Act, and you have to follow a certain you have to prove you're a citizen and show ID in order to vote in a federal election. And I don't know if you guys have ever been to vote. I don't know if you guys have paper ballots or not in your state, but we have paper ballots here. And if you're in a county, the ballots are different in every county for obvious reasons. And then sometimes there's state questions or there's local elections at the same time. Sometimes you'll be handed 3 ballots when you go. And that's how they do that. One is like the federal election with your Congress and the president or whatever election it is. And then you have like the ones that go, through most places, like you'll have a bigger section. So you're like congressional districts, whatever. And then sometimes there's just a local or a county issue that will require a different ballot. They don't just print one ballot with everything on it. Sometimes there's more than one ballot, and they can do that. They can say, if you're going to have this ballot, you have to show a certain ID and have registered proving you're a citizen. If the states don't want to have that in their state, they don't have to. Those people wouldn't be able to vote in a federal election. And that's how I think they need to do it.
Yeah. So can he make states do it? No, I think, so hold on. So Kay Posto, how do I think he's going to do anything with I think he's doing it now, right? I think the executive orders, the EOs that he did sign and he did put out there are telling the executive branch to do certain things. And a lot of those things that the executive branch are doing are investigating how elections have been run in the past. Where they do have federal power is to, like you're seeing right now, where we're requesting access to voter rolls and past voter data. That is perfectly within the Federal Voting Rights Act, the law for the federal government to do that. So an executive order that he passes, go get it and investigate what happened. And then the intent there is, if things untoward did happen, one, prosecute them as a deterrent going forward. Two, it will force it into the daylight, out into the sunlight, to make sure that whatever they were not doing, how they were not following existing federal law, that they won't be doing that any longer. And three, it will put pressure on Congress if they can expose actual election fraud or folks simply not following the written laws, whether it's state or federal election laws. It's going to put more pressure on Congress to change the way that these are enforced. That's the only power that the executive branch will have in this. They can't force a state to create a new law, to create a new rule, a new regulation. In fact, they can't even do it at the federal level. The only thing they can do is investigate, prosecute, and use the findings from the investigations to force Congress to actually do something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I don't know exactly what happens if they find all of this fraud in certain states. I don't know if the government would be able to impose anything on these states. I'm not sure about that. I haven't looked into it.
It's a good question. I don't know what they'll be able to impose. I think the biggest thing that you could expect immediately from that, because any sort of imposition of punishment or a sanction or anything, a fine or anything like that, it's gonna take months to years to play out in court. The biggest thing is just exposing it and the deterrent, because if there are individual people in roles, whether they're in government roles, whether they're advisors, they're observers, they're in actual roles, and they are committing crimes by not following these laws, those are crimes in a lot of cases, and you actually do prosecute and charge them and then prosecute them for doing these things, that's going to be a huge deterrent, which will put the elections back on the right track where they're supposed to be.
Just
That's the immediate impact I think you could get from it.
Yes, and John Solomon's been talking about a bunch of information that's being released. Again, I haven't really been online or in touch for almost a week now. I've been so busy. But I know there was going to be a bunch of evidence and information from investigations coming out, being released to the public. What you guys have to understand, the most effective way, like grassroots movements, okay, like at your state, local level, whatever it is, you have to find as many like-minded people as you possibly can. Start group chats on social media, on Signal chats, wherever you do want to do that. Get everybody together in the same place. Have people that are following the legislation or following the information, the legislation or the information that is coming out. And then you put out an action alert. So when you put out an action alert, you tell everyone you need to contact these senators, these Congress people. I haven't been doing that as much lately. I used to do it all the time on X when I first started getting active on X, because that's what we do at the state and local level here for legislation. And you have no idea how big of an impact it makes when even you have 100 or 200 people calling the same office in one day. They listen. But there are rules. Like I would say the most important thing is when you type, I would call and email. And when you do that, be nice. Like, don't cuss these people out and yell and scream at them. These are staffers that are taking phone calls and opening emails, and then they're making
a lot of
tally
times they're
marks.
college interns. A lot of times.
Exactly. And they're making tally marks for, this person called in favor of this or against this, and they're making tally marks. And then they just basically hand that over to the representative or the senator, and they say, this is what they're calling about today. This is what they care about today. So be kind, because those people are not your enemy. But also, even if you get to talk to your representative or your senator, they will ignore you. They won't even put you down as a tally if you're a dick. So be nice. And it helps if you're their constituent. So if you can get enough constituents together to contact them, they listen to the constituents more than they do the random people that call. But the random people calling helps. So we have to put out action alerts. We have to make people write letters. I think Scott Pressler has a campaign going right now where everyone's writing letters to Congress telling them, pass the SAVE Act now. And here's why. I'm not a paid influencer. These are regular people that are sending letters to Congress saying, pass the SAVE Act. I'm not, because Congress is accusing the people that are pushing the SAVE Act as being paid influencers. That's the narrative they're going with now. That's the Scott Pressler campaign. Write a letter, tell them you're not a paid influencer. I want you to pass the SAVE Act right now. We voted for this. This is what we wanted. 85% of America wants this. What are we doing?
78 million people voted for Trump for this. This was part of the deal. So I want to address this. So this is right. And I don't know if this was a snide comment or not. I don't think it was, but we do have three branches of government. Executive. I think there's a lot of people that don't understand this, especially libs, but a lot of Republicans don't get this either. Executive orders are no different than a policy in a department, right? So the president is the unitary executive of the executive branch. He is the executive branch. He has the ability to implement policies, rules, regulations that affect how that branch behaves. That's all executive orders are. That's it. They have no impact on legislation, on laws and bills, and anything else. But if it's something under the purview of the Article 2 executive branch, he can direct things to happen with executive orders, and not by law, but basically with not necessarily the force of law, but if you violate an executive order, it's like violating an order in your chain of command in the military or from your boss, right? You're out, you're fired. This is the way that the executive branch operates. And he can use it for all manner of things, but they don't have any power outside of the executive branch. None whatsoever. K Pasta, will he put National Guard to observe election process? I don't think so. I mean, I think he'd have a hard time legitimately declaring a national emergency for an election to deploy National Guard. I don't know. I don't know that he would actually be able to.
I don't think that's in his plan, and I'll tell you why I don't think it's in the plan. I don't think it's in the plan because in the protest groups from February of 2025 forward, they started pushing this narrative really hard that Trump in Project 2025, they had a plan for Trump to come into office and use the Insurrection Act and then implement martial law. So you guys have to go out and you have to protest and you have to raise as much hell as possible, go all out because martial law is coming whether you want it or not. First of all, it's not in Project 2025. That doesn't exist in Project 2025. Nothing even close. Trump was doing an assessment when he came into office and wrote that executive order about the Insurrection Act. He was just doing an evaluation. He wanted them to look into these certain things about the Insurrection Act and then give the information to him by a certain date. That's how they were trying to get them riled up in the spring of 2025. And they've pushed forward through all the ICE protests, all of these things. Whatever the next thing is that they are going to get behind to protest, and they're trying to use Iran. It's not working. They're taking that flotilla down to Cuba. It's the protesting that they're doing is not really working. They haven't had something that they can get their entire NPC base behind to go throw themselves in front of cars and get shot by police or whatever it is like they did in 2020 to cause such huge protesting and rioting and violence and things like that. That's what they have to have. That's what they're looking for. That's what they were pushing for in Minnesota. Even Tim Walz, that's what they were pushing for. The language they were using was the dog whistle language for their NPCs to know it was time to go. They just didn't get enough behind it, and then they all got exposed for how organized it was. So I think the color revolutionists that do color revolutions all over the world are struggling with the color revolution in the United States because we keep exposing it over and over and over, and they don't know how to handle this because we have free speech. That's why they want to censor your speech. You need to thank Elon Musk, no matter how you feel about him. Elon Musk purchasing X is the only reason why we're able to have this conversation right now. And we're able to tell you about their organizations and how they're organizing behind the protests to push martial law or whatever it is, so that they can say, see, we told you he's authoritarian and he's taking over the country and he's a dictator and he's not going to leave office. Because that's what they're telling these people. They really believe this.
Okay, so Kate Pasta, she's got a lot of questions. Good questions, though. Can he ban the machines by executive order? No, he can't. States have the legal authority. They have the power to operate and execute their elections how they see fit within the confines of federal law. Right? That's how that works. What the federal government has the power to do through Congress, through bills that go through the process and become law, is basically regulate who is allowed to vote, not how they're allowed to vote. So by requiring proof of citizenship and ID, you are putting guardrails around who and saying you have to be able to prove who. I think they can even limit the when, the who, what, when. I don't believe they can limit the how, though. I may be wrong. Definitely not with executive order. I don't know if they were to pass a federal law, if they could actually ban machines. That would they may be able to. I think that'd go through some constitutional hurdles.
Because I think if they were to do something like that and tried to ban machines through Congress, that actually might work because it's Congress passing a law and Congress has the power to do that. But again, it gets a little bit iffy there because the states
you'd
have
see
the
some
control.
states you'd see some 10th Amendment challenges to that.
I think so too.
Right.
But also I want to point out it's very important. Another reason that you need to be advocating for paper ballots and not having any electronic voting. One of the things that the New Pluralists, again, the Soros Koch team, that the Quincy Institute, the New Pluralists, New Americans, there's a whole list of them because those people teamed up. Great team, let me tell you. And one of the things that they are pushing for all of this pluralism and a lot of the things we've talked about as far as their plans for this country after they're able to get control again, one of the things they want is the ranked choice voting or the open primaries and things like that, because that's how they also seize elections. But after they get control of all of that, their end goal is blockchain voting. So they want everyone to just be able to vote by blockchain, and then we're going to end up like Cuba. I mean, it's true.
So Nomi Sunrider thinks that you can somewhat regulate the how. I think you may be right. This would be interesting. I think this would be a very significant 10th Amendment challenge if they tried to dictate how elections are run, meaning what medium they're allowed to be run on. I know that the federal government can determine who can vote. I don't know if because I'm pretty sure
they can't limit it. They can limit it to a degree beyond the federal law. So like with immigration, for example, a state can make some laws about immigration in their state, but there are certain laws that they can't because it has to do with like how far off of federal immigration law it is. Like, is it pushing the law further than intended?
Right. Well, I mean, so there are states and local municipalities who allow illegal immigrants, or not illegal, but legal immigrants, folks who are here on green cards, to vote in local elections, as long as it's not a federal election. So there are.
Also thinks that it said the Save America Act says paper ballots only. I'm going to look it up because
I don't believe it does. I don't believe it. I don't believe it does. I don't believe it does. But I mean, even if it did, that would be interesting. I don't think they would put that in the Save America Act, because I think that part of it.
States are just passing their own laws. I think when he's saying push, paper ballots only, he's pushing for people in the states to push for paper ballots only in your state, because that's the only way you're going to secure your elections. And just for the record, the election manipulation that's been taking place has been going on for a very long time. Obviously, you had heard Nancy Pelosi talking about it in like 2000 or 2004. It's been going on for a long time. And when they first started manipulating the elections, they didn't start with the presidential elections or big congressional elections and, races in certain states. They started at the local level. They were messing with school board elections. They were messing with city council elections, things that nobody pay attention to. And that's how they figured out exactly how they could be able to do it and get away with it, in my opinion, allegedly.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely they were testing it on small elections and insignificant ones that are that no one pays attention to. All right, I'm asking Grok real quick. Does the SAVE Act address paper ballots? No, the SAVE Act does not address paper ballots. Nope. Official bill contains nope. It does not. Does not address it.
Yeah,
This one is
the
very
SAVE-
specifically. It's very specifically about who
Who?
is permitted to vote, and that who has to be a U.S. citizen. You have to prove it, and then you have to prove your identity when you go to vote.
Right. And
That's
and
it.
just for the record, I know some people are frustrated and they just want Trump to be able to do something to secure the elections or for Congress to be able to pass. You have to have paper ballots. You can't vote unless you have proven you're a U.S. citizen. All the things that everybody are asking for. It would be nice to say, yes, it would be great if Trump or Congress could do that. But you have to remember the Constitution is very important and it's there for a reason. And states' rights are extremely, extremely, extremely important. And the states need to maintain their right. Their right to be able to administer and run the elections in their state the way that they want to run them.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, right? The federal government was never meant to be the central focus of power in this country. Somehow, some way, we've allowed it to be really the only thing that we focus on. The 50 states individually were supposed to be where power was accumulated at each one of those individual 50 states. And the only reason the federal government was meant to exist was to settle disputes between those 50 states, to make sure that none of those 50 states or all or some portion of those 50 states were violating your individual rights, your constitutional rights, and to make sure that they, didn't end up attacking, invading, or trying to take over each other, and then a few other things. But
like
that's very limited.
interstate commerce, and
very limited.
security, national security. It's very limited, and that's the problem. This is another thing I advocate for. If the libertarians weren't as unhinged as they are most of the time, most of the libertarian platform is a pretty good platform because maintaining liberty and the separation between state and federal control is important. Shrinking the size and scope of the federal government needs to happen. That's another thing that I've advocated for over and over and over and over again. You always want to shrink the size and scope of the federal government, which Donald Trump is doing, by the way. We need to go back to as constitutional as we can. Nam, did you know that prior to like 1916 or 19 something teens, the way our federal representatives, our Congress at the federal level were put into place is the state appointed them. So like your state Congress would like vote, they would appoint people and then they would like vote and send people.
I don't think that was at the congressional level. I believe that was Senate. Senate, I think, was that.
It was for U.S. Congress. So the state representatives going up to U.S. Congress for Senate, and I think it was for both.
That would be news to me if it was for House of Representatives. I think it was just Senate. That you had the governor. Essentially, the governor selected the senators.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I thought, I think in some states they might have had a Congress vote, but either way. Maybe. They were appointed and they went up there on appointment and they could lose their job at any second. They didn't have to wait for an election for them to say, you're not doing your job, you're getting replaced, you're fired. And
the interesting part about the power that these people have basically voted for themselves is insane. It's wild. what they've been able to get away with and protecting their own asses, frankly, with federal law, using federal law. And the Constitution is just vague enough in a number of ways that they're able to figure out, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to pass a federal law that says that the only way that you can hire or fire us is for a ballot. You know, you have an election every 2 years or every 4 years. Fine. Or, hey, by the way, nobody else has the ability to give us a raise, so we're going to be able to give ourselves our own raises.
Right? That's
right.
crazy.
So, yeah, it's crazy.
Something has to be done, and 6 years is way too long in between elections. Something has to. We have to change. We have to figure this out, you guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Senate's supposed to be a more deliberative body. They're supposed to be a lot more sane than the folks in the House of Representatives. Those are supposed to be more kind of everyday people, which is why initially the senators were appointed by the states, whether it came up through Congress or governor or whoever did it. And then the elected, the House of Representatives, I believe that was always a vote from the people, because it's just like the House of Commons and the House of Lords. Like the House of Commons and House of Lords, right? The House of Commons over in the UK was basically forced on the monarchy because the average citizen had no representation. And that's why we have the House of Representatives, because we needed and demanded that the average citizen have their own individual representation. And that's what that representative is. Anyway, we could go on and on about this, but we're over 2 hours.
This was good. I kind of like this chatting at the end and addressing comments and being able to talk to everybody, because I feel like when I'm on here, I'm trying not to pay attention to comments, and then we don't ever get to talk. And I feel like we're a family and we need to communicate more.
I agree. Hey, listen, you guys have been fantastic. We will keep you all posted about a show on Friday. As of now, we will plan to have a show on Friday, normal time. If that's not going to happen, we'll give you as much advance notice as we can, or we just won't be here if you come looking for us. So we'll let you know.
Yeah,
all right, folks.
You guys have a good week, and maybe we'll see you Friday. Maybe we won't. If not, we'll see you Sunday on Red Wave Unfiltered at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Claire Patriot and MAGA Meg. Go check them out if you don't watch them. They'll be here Sunday, and then we'll be back Monday if we're not here Friday.
All right, MAGA Jake, we hear you. We'll try to work some more of this in. See you guys. Peace.
In the shadows of the Capitol, they're scheming in the night, selling out our freedoms for a pocket full of spite. From the border